逮捕された日本人のうち1名は当初強盗被害に遭ったと通報した一人である。 For today's shift, Taehan will be on duty. Already? Well, anyone who wants to work for Taehan, please put your hand up. So we nominate ourselves? We nominate ourselves. Taehan, please choose one person you want to work with.
Love making these memory pages for the place that I went to. And so it's looking kind of like a mess right now. And I will make a little TikTok. So this is how it looks when I make like a journal with me TikTok. I just have this tripod and then I just fold it all the way like in a 90
Shibuya is Nakametro. For stations in between, please change trains at
the